I am the back-end handyman. I fix things as cheap as I can, which is often all by myself. I am not a professional. May not be done the right way, but it's done my way. I assume no responsibility if you attempt the same thing and damage anything. As you've seen in the previous ones, we have found that we have a blown head gasket on this. And we actually bought it. I'm pretty sure it had a blown head gasket. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Everest Auto in Oklahoma City for that. Thank you very much. The way you tell that somebody tried to hide a blown head gasket, if you see this milky stuff in the radiator, you definitely don't want to buy the vehicle if you see something like that in there. What that is, liquid glass and fibers that are supposed to clog up any kind of head gasket leak. When I first looked at it, I seen it was a little bit milky in there down in the store before I bought it, but I kind of thought that it was due to hard water, people putting tap water in there. Sometimes it'll get to look like that, but no, after I actually tried to do the head gasket seal myself, I realized, hey, this has already been done once. Maybe he didn't do it, maybe the people before him did it, but I know it had that stuff in the radiator before I got it. And we can't afford to buy another car. I haven't even got this one in my name yet. So I'm going to try to fix the head gasket. I ain't ever done shit like this before. Just take off the shroud here. I ain't going to show you every step of this, but pretty much what I got to do is I got to take all this off. That's the valve cover, this big long thing. And underneath it's the head gasket. Underneath the head gasket is what we're going to try to repair. I take off the intake, the fuel injector rail and fuel injectors, the ignition coils. It's gonna be fun. At least let you see me fuck this car up or fix it. One of the two. The way it is now, it's pretty much fucked, so I might as well try to fix it. Okay, and I just wanted to see here, I'm gonna take that off. It clips into there. These things pinch on the back side. It was stuck in there and disconnects from this right here. There's also one of them pinchy things right there. I'm gonna get my pliers, take that off, and then we can pull our
make sure battery is disconnected
alternator plug, and then we'll come to each one of these solenoids.
I forgot to disconnect my battery.
Right there, and then we'll have one that comes over and disconnect all the solenoids. These here are the fuel injectors. We'll connect those. We'll get this wiring harness out of the way. All right, and I took the fuel line off. You pull it in and push this thing back so it has a built-on fuel disconnect. Yeah, it's built on there. I've never really worked on these before, so I don't know for sure. I took off these two hoses. There's one back there. I disconnected all the fuel injectors right there. These are the fuel injectors. Those are the spark solenoids. I'm gonna have to take those out. Those are gonna be coming out. I took off the air filter. There's just clips there that you push in or pull out and it disconnects. I'm going to be disconnecting this from the throttle body, and we'll pick up from there. Alright, and I took off these plastic covers right here that cover this bottom part. Just get them out of the way. I always keep all my stuff sorted in one of these organizers, bolt organizers. This one has cool because it has some small top ones and then it has big deep bottom ones. You can actually label each compartment to tell you where you got them screws from. But emptied out all the coolant. Now I'm going to empty the oil and pull off the oil pan. I hope that don't get too messy. And this, I just put oil in it the other day before I went on a trip, so it should be pretty clean oil. So I'm going to try to save it. I got one of these little plaster buckets, man. Boy, that thing comes in handy as hell. Yeah, that's fucking 20 bucks I saved there by just pulling the oil out of it. I only used it for like 20 miles. It's not milky. That's what the oil looked like. It didn't, I mean, it's dark, but not like super dark. Oops. Okay, when taking off the oil pan, I found you got to take off that little shroud. It's just this one bolt, but it's a long bolt for some reason. It's all right. You take that out, and then you can see them other oil pan bolts. Now, you want to make sure that when you're pulling this oil pan off, that maybe you're going up in this lip. You're never wanting to contact where the gasket sits. You don't want to scrape that up. You don't want to scar it. I see most other people in there, when they take these off, the heads and all that, are just prying on it with screwdrivers and pry bars. You gotta be careful around that, or else you won't be able to seal it back down. So always find a place where it hangs over a little bit. You can get your little pry bar in there. For reference, we got our oil pan off. It's got silicone gasket on it. I don't know if they have an actual real gasket. Might just put that kind of gasket on it. I don't know. We'll have to see. And of course, I got my plastic cover bolts, and then I got my oil pan bolts, my oil snout bolts. And you always want to unhook your battery, or you might find out that something is just loose in here, and it can, I don't know what the hell that goes to. I'm sure it's something important. I'll figure it out. I gotta unhook these batteries. I always forget to do that. And then I was moving my hand around in here, and this hit something and sparked. I was like, oh shit. I went ahead and took this hose off the bottom of the radiator, or the bottom of this spout, and it goes across in front of that throttle body. Kind of makes it a pain in the ass to get that out, so I moved that. And on this one here, I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect these hoses. One of them goes right there, which is that back one, and this one goes over here underneath all this stuff. I'm gonna unhook that one, just get the throttle body out. All right, and I got it off. Just put an old rag in there, just so nothing falls down in there. The reason I took it all the way off, you don't necessarily have to. You could just leave them hoses hooked up and move this out of the way, but I like to clean it when I'm working around it. I always clean the throttle bodies. Might be a good thing, might not be a good thing. I don't know. All right, I went ahead and took out the ignition coils, put them in there. There's the 4. And then I got these 2 here are for fuel injector rail. And you always pull your vacuum out and suck up all the dirt so it don't fall in there. Then you take a little something to try to plug each one of the holes so it don't get in your motor. These right here are the throttle body. These are for the spark plug coils. These right here are the valve cover bolts. That's what it looks like after I got the cover off of it, the valve cover. That did have a regular gasket, so already oil pan and valve cover gaskets will need to be replaced. And guys, if you ever wonder how I learned to do this stuff, I learned the same way you're doing it right now from watching other videos on YouTube. If you're seeing me do something, check out my playlist that's entitled Influenced by Other YouTubers. And the gentleman that I watch his videos to figure out how to do this is in there. So, I mean, check him out. I don't remember his channel's name or nothing, but I'm probably going to have to watch it here again in a few minutes just to remember or find out where I'm at and where I need to go. But we got that off. Next, we're going to have to take the timing chain cover off this mount. We're going to have to take the intake off, but I'm going to go eat lunch. Okay, I'm down here underneath. I disconnected the oil sensor, I think is what that is. I disconnected this wire, and I'm gonna have to take these loose. There's some clips that hold these in. They're really pretty easy to get loose. You just have to scrunch them in a little bit, like that, and then push them up through the plastic. Like that. But I'll get these wires off of here, and then there's going to be one wire over here I'm also going to take loose. I'm not sure what it is yet. It's for the air compressor, I believe. And it looks like there is a sensor wire right here. That don't have to come off, it don't look like. But let me get some of this stuff out of the way. Alright, and well, there's 2 nuts and there's 3 bolts, which on my index here. Oh, there's 2 nuts and there's the 3 bolts that go onto the intake manifold. And it just comes loose like that. Feels like there is a gasket there. Pull this out, and the hoses, there's hoses on the side of the intake manifold. Okay, the one that hooks in to the top down there goes right here. Okay, and the one that hooks in right here goes to the bottom connector on the back of this manifold. Right there. Let's see. There's the top one, and then that one's still hooked up. We gotta get it. Here, on the side of that, there are these 2 connectors. Right down here. Just squeeze and pull. Squeeze and pull, boys. Right there's one. And here's one. Man, there's so many damn wires. Okay, there's 3 of them. Alright, this is the bottom of that intake manifold. Jesus. What a pain in the ass. Okay, there was a plug right here, which is this one. You have to stick your screwdriver underneath that and pull up, because the damn thing wouldn't come up. Well, it is now. The thing wouldn't push when I was trying to push it, and I had to get my thing under it. And then we got another one back here. Same damn thing. Take those off. And now I can remove this. Then of course, after you vacuum all your extra dirt off so it don't get down into your intake, get this pulled out. Now we have access to like the alternator, and still got to disconnect that bolt right there. And then I got to lift up the motor a little bit so I can get this mount off. And then we're going to take off the timing chain cover. Let me go ahead and get this alternator off. Looks like it's just one couple bolts. Okay, you loosen the bolts on the side over here, and then you loosen this one, and you loosen that one, and you just keep loosening this one until you can get your belt off. Now is always a good time to inspect your any kind of belts or things that wear down on your motor, especially since we're putting them back on later, hopefully. And here's the putting my alternator bolts in the bottom because they're a little bit bigger and they go to a whole separate entity, but probably need to pry that off and find my pry bar. All right, and taking this off here. I'm just gonna put this nut back on here so I don't lose it. And then there's the alternator. Now from what I understand, the water pump thing, I'm gonna go ahead and jack the motor up so I can take this mount off the side over here a little bit. I'm getting closer. Yay! After I get those nuts off and that bolt out, a really big bolt. Of course, you gotta have the engine jacked up before you can do that, but I'll go ahead and take that off. I'm gonna take that mount the rest of the way out so I can have more hand access to the timing chain cover and the water pump. This is gonna be fun. Alright, I got all that off, so, and all the motor mount bolts are right there. Now I guess I'm gonna be looking at taking off this timing chain thing. Okay, I had to take the bolts out of that water pump thing right here so that it won't be in front of that. And then we will roll it to top dead center on the timing mark, and then we'll take that pulley off, and we'll see about taking this piece off over here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off too. And these are the water pump thing bolts, and then the ground bolt will be right there. All right, I got the pulley off. See, you just line that little mark right there up with that timing mark down there. Then you take the pulley off. I had to stick a thing into the spoke going into the block, end wrench to be exact, and make it to where it binded up. And then after I really got onto it, boy, it came off then. But now I'm taking off all these bolts right here. I changed the location of my jack because it was kind of hard to take off them bolts and that plate over there with it in the way. So there's that.
You know that?
When the bolts, just kind of lay them out while I'm pulling them out. There's this one that's in here. I imagine it's either 12 or 14. That's not the size. Okay, now a couple of things. For one, there's a little bitty pin that sticks in the end of that crankshaft, and I had to pull it out because it's right there, because I couldn't get the crank or the timing chain cover to slide up past it. And then all these bolts, I put them back where they came out, so I know which ones take the longer bolts and which ones take the shorter bolts. And I'll just leave them with it. And these here, they came off this pump back here, because I was trying to take that off too, but there's two Phillips head screws. So I'll just put these right here. This one shit gets real. There's the timing chain. Hope I can put it back together again. That's for sure. And just put that in there. And there's the tiny chain tensioner and stuff. So now I get to pull off the camshafts, or whatever those are. But yay. All right, and here's the 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Take those all out and make sure that you put these back in the same order. Like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you go ahead and get them bolts out those and get those out. Alright, and here's the brackets that go over the top of the cam shafts or whatever they are. There's all the bolts. And I laid them on the table. This one is closest to the cab of the car, and this is closest to the front of the car, so that's how they'll go back in. Alright, this here, we're up on here, there's one there, and then the gas line was there as well, those two. And then there was a screw back here. Came off this thing, and I don't know what this thing is. I gotta look it up, see if it's important, because the fitting or the connector that goes into this is broken, so I don't know what it is. I put that down in there, and I put the bolts to all that little part right here. The next part, there was a bolt there and there, and then on the back side of it, where the bolts are on, that you just took off for all the hoses and stuff, I stuck a pry bar in between there and it just popped it right up. Worked pretty good. So now we're at the actual head, and the bolts to that, those two bolts are right there. We gotta take this off. Or unhook these hoses anyway. And that wire that's right there. Okay, this hose right here goes into there, hooks to this side. This one here goes into the heater core, hooks to that side. This wire here, black and gray, goes to this plug right here. And now I gotta disconnect the exhaust manifold. Take these off and see if I can reach it up here. Okay guys, I took the notes off back here. There's 1, 2, 3, and then 2 on the bottom of the manifold. Then we took these fucking big ass, they're triple square 12 millimeter is what they are. Right there. So those are tight as fuck. And I took this bolt off here because this was bolted right back here to hold that up. And I think I should be able to pull it out now. And all those bolts. Like here's the one for that mount. Here's one for one of the, for the catalytic converter. I couldn't get the other one off, so I took the other bolts off. Which are these right here, the nuts for the exhaust manifold. And then these are the big old triple square bolts right there. I'll put them in there. All right, I had to disconnect this hose from, well, not that, from this right here. This hose back here to that. I think that's everything. I'm gonna try to eject this head now, maybe, hopefully. All right, guys, here is the head gasket. Yay! We're finally there. You see how this one piston has some rust? That would be from the water, the coolant getting in there, because I didn't use distilled water. But let's take a look at the back side of this. See, this one over here looks like it's steamed a little bit, but this one over here, you got rusty, and I don't know, but that one right there, let's take a look. See all this? All that is blown the fuck out, man. So I guess that would be what it was, that and this. I don't know for sure, man. But all I know is blown head gasket. This is the head. The head is off, and this is the gasket. And that has rust on it, which it shouldn't have, because that shouldn't have water in it at all. So therefore, I believe I need to take me a sandstone over the top of this to even it all out and clean it. And then I need my new head gasket to put it back on, and I'll make a video of that. But this is how to take it off, because we are to it now. Now I gotta clean the shit out of this. Yay. This is the head. That's the piston in question. Got little clumps all over the place from that head gasket sealer. I mean, almost wary about putting in a new gasket and trying to make this thing work again because all that head gasket sealer that it had in it. I mean, I put some in it and the people before me put some in it. So I don't know what all else it could have clogged up or fucked up. But we'll get it cleaned up and we'll put it back together. We'll see. About it. Let's see if it's warped. If you put your straight edge up here and go across the block and see a little bit of a gap down there at the bottom, see if it's warped. And I mean, just barely. Maybe when I get it all cleaned up and get that old gasket shit off of it right there, maybe it won't be. It don't. I mean, I'd be a gambling man at that. I wouldn't think that it would leak still. I don't really see a bunch of big gap. Like, subscribe, and follow, especially if you want to see it go back together and see if it works. I'm not a professional, but hey, I ain't paying nobody $1,200 to fix this shit. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and want to follow my process, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in.